I wanted to understand something that most people only talk about but rarely analyze deeply. Why do certain individuals seem to operate at a completely different level of productivity, focus, and execution? And one name that constantly appears in conversations about extreme performance is Elon Musk. Not because he is perfect or superhuman, but because his workload, discipline, and execution capacity are undeniably intense. So I asked AI to break down what separates people who build empires from those who constantly feel behind, and the answer was not talent, not IQ, and not even money. It was structured intensity, a deliberate design of time that most people never implement, and that is where the concept of the 5 a.m. rule comes in. Not as a magical hour, not as a motivational cliche, but as a psychological leverage point. AI explained that waking up at 5 a.m. itself does not create success, but what it represents does. It represents controlled mornings before the world starts demanding your attention, and most people lose their day before it even begins because they wake up and immediately react. Notifications, messages, social media, emails, news, and by the time they start their real work, their mental energy is already fragmented. High performers structure their mornings differently. They protect their first hours like assets. And AI identified 3 patterns commonly found among ultra-productive individuals: intentional silence, priority targeting, and distraction delay. Intentional silence means starting the day without digital noise, giving your brain space to think instead of react. Priority targeting means identifying the single most important task that moves long-term goals forward. And distraction delay means postponing reactive activities like emails and messages until after meaningful work has been completed. So I decided to test this framework for 30 days, waking up at 5 a.m. consistently. And instead of scrolling, I dedicated the first 90 minutes to what AI called deep leverage work, which is work that compounds over time: learning high-value skills, building projects, strategic planning, content creation, or physical training. The first week was brutal, not physically, but mentally, because my brain was used to comfort, used to gradual waking, used to consuming content before producing it, and breaking that pattern felt uncomfortable. But discomfort is often the entrance to growth. AI explains something powerful about mornings. Willpower is highest early in the day because decision fatigue is not accumulated yet, meaning the hardest tasks should be executed when cognitive resistance is lowest, yet most people schedule them for later, when energy is depleted. By shifting one high-impact task to 5 a.m., I noticed a psychological shift. Even if the rest of the day became chaotic, I had already won. I had already moved forward. And that creates momentum. Momentum builds confidence, and confidence builds consistency. Another insight AI revealed was that structured mornings create identity reinforcement. When you wake up early, consistently, and execute on a priority task, you begin to see yourself as disciplined, and identity drives behavior more powerfully than motivation ever will. Many people wait to feel motivated to act, but high performers act first and allow identity to evolve afterward. During week 2, I noticed something unexpected. I was less reactive throughout the entire day because I no longer felt behind. I had already invested in myself before external demands appeared. AI described this as psychological positioning, starting the day in control rather than in response mode. And here's where Elon Musk becomes relevant. Not as a myth, but as an example of structured intensity, he famously breaks his schedule into 5-minute blocks, an extreme form of time awareness that forces prioritization and eliminates wasted time. And while not everyone needs that level of rigidity, the principle behind it is powerful. Intentional scheduling beats passive drifting. Most people do not lack time. They lack clarity about what deserves their best time. By week 3 of this experiment, I realized that the real power of the 5 a.m. rule is not the hour itself, but the isolation from distraction. At 5 a.m., the world is quiet. Fewer notifications, fewer messages, fewer interruptions, and that environment makes deep focus easier. AI emphasized that environment design is often more important than willpower, because when friction is low, execution becomes natural. Another shift I experienced was reduced procrastination, because when you complete your hardest task early, the rest of the day feels lighter, and procrastination often comes from overwhelming mental load. AI also connected early rising to long-term skill acquisition, explaining that if someone invests 90 focus minutes per day into learning a high-income skill, that equals over 500 hours per year, and 500 hours of focused practice in anything creates noticeable expertise. And expertise increases income potential, leverage, and opportunity. Suddenly, waking up early stopped being about discipline for the sake of discipline and became about compounding advantage. Most people underestimate compounding because results are invisible at first, but small daily investments in skill and focus create exponential growth over time. Another critical element AI highlighted was energy alignment, meaning your highest cognitive energy should be matched with your highest value activity. Yet most people invert this, spending their best energy on low-value consumption and leaving their goals for when they are tired. Flipping that alignment creates disproportionate results. During the final week of my 3-0-day experiment, I noticed a deeper transformation. My evenings improved because I became more intentional about sleep, knowing I had to wake up early, forced better habits at night, reducing random scrolling and late distractions. Structure in one part of life influenced structure in another, and that ripple effect is powerful. AI concluded something that reshaped how I view productivity. Successful individuals do not rely on heroic bursts of motivation, they rely on boring, repeatable systems that protect their focus and compound their effort. The 5 a.m. rule is simply a visible symbol of a deeper principle: proactive control of time. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they operate reactively, allowing the world to dictate their schedule, their attention, and their priorities. Waking up early will not magically make you successful, but using early hours intentionally can separate you from the majority who remain in passive cycles. The real question is not, can you wake up at 5 a.m.? The real question is, what would you do with uninterrupted time if no one was watching and no one was demanding anything from you? That answer defines your trajectory. AI framed it simply: high performers create leverage before they consume comfort. They build before they scroll. They execute before they react. And that pattern repeated over years creates extraordinary outcomes. After 30 days, I did not become a billionaire, but I became more disciplined, more focused, and more aligned with long-term goals. And that shift alone changed my trajectory. The final lesson AI revealed is that time is the only non-renewable asset, and protecting your most powerful hours is one of the highest return decisions you can make. Most people will never test their limits because comfort feels easier than structure. But if you experiment with structured mornings, even for 14 days, you might discover that the barrier between average and exceptional is not intelligence or luck. It is controlled intensity applied consistently. Elon Musk may operate at an extreme level, but the principle behind his structure is accessible to anyone. Prioritize high-impact work, schedule intentionally, eliminate distraction windows, and treat time like capital. Because once you start seeing your morning hours as investment opportunities rather than disposable time, everything changes. Your skills improve, your confidence grows, your output increases, and your life begins to feel designed instead of accidental. And maybe that is the ultimate life hack. Not a shortcut, not a secret trick, but a deliberate decision to win the first hour of your day so consistently that winning becomes normal. And when winning becomes normal, growth becomes inevitable. But here is something even more interesting that AI pointed out, and this might be the real hidden advantage of structured mornings. When you wake up early and complete meaningful work before most people are even awake, you build a quiet psychological edge, a sense of separation from the average routine, and that separation fuels self-belief. Confidence is not built by motivational videos or affirmations, it is built by evidence. And every morning you execute on a difficult task, you collect evidence that you are capable of discipline, and that evidence compounds just like money. Another insight AI revealed is that the brain adapts to whatever standard you repeat. If you repeatedly choose comfort, your baseline becomes comfort, but if you repeatedly choose effort early in the day, your baseline becomes execution. And once execution becomes normal, productivity stops feeling forced and starts feeling automatic. This is why structured intensity works. It shifts your internal standard upward. And let's address the objection most people have: I'm not a morning person. AI explained that chronotypes matter, but consistency matters more. The key is not the exact hour. It is the protected block of uninterrupted focus. And for most people, early morning simply offers the least resistance from the outside world. The deeper lesson is intentional isolation from distraction. Imagine doing this for a full year. Imagine stacking 9 0-minute deep work sessions 5 days per week. That is over 350 hours of focused progress annually, which means in 1 year, you could dramatically improve a skill, build a serious side project, transform your body, or increase your income potential. And most people will never attempt it because it sounds too simple. But simplicity repeated is powerful, and maybe the final uncomfortable truth is this: the gap between where you are and where you want to be is often hidden inside how you use your first 2 hours each day, because mornings are leverage points, and leverage applied consistently changes outcomes. So whether it is 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or any protected hour before distraction begins, the principle remains the same. Build before you consume, execute before you react, and protect your most powerful time as if your future depends on it, because in many ways, it does.